Okay, so now we're on to video 2. And yes, I got a new tablet. So that's why the camera angles and everything are so funky. I'm actually looking straight at the tablet and the camera is over here, but I don't. It's a little weird for me to look at a tiny blinking red light. So I'm just going to keep looking at the camera, and you can pretend that I'm looking straight at you. That's also why it keeps shaking around, because I'm actually holding it. So it's high-tech, low proficiency, I suppose you could say. So we're moving on now to the last 2 F's of the 3 F's: fitness, food, and sex. So, and I'll give that a minute too. If you haven't given a chuckle for that yet, then I'm really sorry for you. So we're moving on to food and sex. We already covered fitness in the first video. So the standard response to the food question is that the same as Doc. You can eat whatever the hell you want to. And that works perfectly well. We're not advocating any diet or whatsoever. Again, most people tend to be disappointed with that, either because they want validation for their own opinions, or they either honestly want to know our opinions, you know. So they either want to get into a dialogue or an argument, and sometimes both. So my own opinions, and again, these are opinions, I tend to stay away from, I tend to follow, confession up front, I tend to follow a paleo diet these days. I have for about the past month. Every now and again I have to give myself a little cheat meal, because my weight loss will actually plateau. So, or actually even go up, even though I'm only eating meat and ketogenic style vegetables, vegetables and fruit. So mostly greens and carrots and berries. And I do intermittent fasting as well. So I tend to that tends to reduce my appetite, and also Kundalini tends to reduce the amount of calories that you need. So losing, that is one of the downsides of Kundalini, is if you need to lose weight, it tends to be harder, although not impossible. You can look at Teo. Teo had a superhuman metabolism going into Kundalini, and after Kundalini, he still has a superhuman metabolism. It may have put a small, tiny little dent in the superhuman. The guy literally eats all the time. I'm serious. Don't tell him I said that, but he does. And so my recommendations tend to be, more so than any of the structured things, before energy work or meditation, stay away from starchy foods and grains. Stay away from beans generally. Stay away from massive amounts of bread, especially white bread, and potatoes, especially French fried potatoes that you get from you know where you get them from. Those tend to, first of all, you might want to stay away from eating for a period before energy work. As same with exercise, as the body tends to be focused on digestion, and so you don't want to take away from that. You can also cause problems when you're doing your deep abdominal breathing and trying to, and trust me, I tend to be the instructor who, more than speaking from what I've learned, I speak from experience, because everything I learned I did the opposite of, and then got to learn the effects of doing it the wrong way. So you tend to get a lot of heat and what the Chinese would call fire in the lungs and in the chest, and that can lead to all kinds of bad things that you'll have to work on later. So especially stay away from white bread and potatoes before energy. That doesn't mean cut them out. If you're I'm not telling you to cut those out of your diets. I'm just saying cut them out before you do your Qigong practices. And you don't have to. You don't have to listen to any of this. There have been plenty of people that have reached Kundalini without, these, especially through KAP, without these advisories. If you're on the thing is, most people ask that question, and they want some sort of validation for a vegetarian, vegan, or raw diet. And while I eat plenty of raw vegetables and fruit all day, and raw nuts as well. Still, from personal experience, and generally what we teach is that if you've been on a raw diet for a while and you can handle it, great, continue doing it. If you eat meat and you have no problem eating meat, continue to eat meat. Don't worry so much about it. This is not the time nor the place to get into a moralistic sort of dialogue over those kinds of things. But from an actual practical standpoint, won't make that much of a difference. Okay? If you tend to eat a lot of meat, I would go back to my first video and give a listen to my tips on exercise. So, to recap, both the fitness and the food, there are no rules. Just pay attention to what seems to be working for you. And that will segue quite well into our third topic, which is the third F, sex. There are no, and this differs with pretty much every single other Qigong school out there. Most write it in stone, and especially for men. Women, not so much so, but you must not ejaculate. Never ever. It's evil. Why would you even think of it? And trust me, I have not ejaculated in 50 years, and look at me. I'm incredibly young and incredibly frustrated, sorry. Not really. So it's more, it comes down to listen to your body. And if you are sexually active, if you're married, or if you have a partner, after the big moment, pay attention to the tiny little biological processes and energetic processes, which you'll learn to tune into those and be more aware of subtle things going on in the body and within the energetic body through KAP. And you can pay attention to what's going on, and if you feel a little bit of drainage, is natural, and it's fine. It goes along with that release. Think about Reiki and body work. The whole point of Reiki and body work is to actually have an ultimate orgasm. It's not to stop ejaculation. It's to completely remove all the blocks and this goes for women as well, to completely remove all the blocks so that the orgasm just blows you completely out of the stratosphere. And I wholeheartedly approve of that. But at the same time, you will generally notice a little bit of a lack of energy after. You're not going to get up. The old strongmen, as well as the Taoists, tended to shy away from ejaculation before a heavy workout. And I have found that to be relatively true. It will decrease your energy levels and the amount of strength that you have by a bit, but you know, what do you want out of life? You know, I mean, you know, it all kind of depends on what you really want out of this life, I suppose. But at the same time, there are methods for having sex, and Teo is a much better authority on this than myself. And where you can ejaculate, and you can still have wonderful amounts of energy. For the most part, just pay attention to the breath, that deep abdominal breathing. Don't tense up. Don't tense the pelvis up. Especially don't tense the abs up. You know, if you'll notice right before you, you know, if you're a quick draw, one of those guys, you know, doing that deep abdominal breathing with no catches and no tightness is amazing. You can go on and on. In fact, you'll probably outlast your partner, which might not always be the best thing in the world. But kind of forgot myself. Sorry, crept back into a memory for a second there. So the answer is really pay attention to your body and what you need. Doing the KAP practices, you will continue to progress and increase regardless of sexual activity and ejaculation. So that is the final answer, really. Just pay attention to yourself and what's going on inside of your body and your subtle body. Okay? I hope these have been informative. Of course, you can always, I always recommend, rather than trying to get into an actual conversation with me, because like I said, I'm doing this freestyle. So it's just sort of whatever bubbles up out of the cauldron of my memory, you know, gets transmitted. But, you know, I always think that it's much better for people if they, you know, type me up a question and then I can sit there and think about it for a few minutes and then actually type them a thoughtful response that will hopefully be usable to them. So I will be more than happy to answer any of your questions, as will any of the other KAP instructors. So please don't hesitate to find me and shoot me a question. Okay? So this is Paul Densmore from Dr. Glenn J. Morris's Improved Kundalini Awakening Process, signing off and wishing you all the best. Thank you.